right, hello everybody. This is our weekend video broadcast, a broiler chicken show. Still sort of getting settled back in the routine here in Vancouver. So, and you know, yes, we do have this new website up and running, but frankly, I have no idea how to use any of this stuff. And I think the boys are still sort of building it out. But hey, progress is progress, right? So you can see the site on the screen here. We used to have a function, I suppose, Stuart and Julian, if you're going to watch this later on, we used to have a function on the old website where people could post their requests for these shows. So I'm not quite sure where you guys want to do that, but it would be handy if I'm going to do these videos to have sort of a central repository where people, if they wanted me to look at something, they could request that. But anyway, we did have a few requests to have a little chat here over the weekend, our broiler chicken show. So that's basically what I have on the docket here for today. It is about 11 o'clock here on the West Coast. Going to head out and, of course, spend my Sunday afternoon with the boys. So we won't talk too much today, but nice to see we have some familiar faces in the lounge. Alex, of course, there. He was my awesome host in Berlin. And Change, awesome. He and I climbed the top of the world. Can't remember the name of that place, but I think I put a couple pictures out on Twitter about it, but we should see. Alex says, try to click on the daily briefs in the left menu, then look on the right is the request queue. Oh, okay. So Alex seems to understand this better than I do. So daily brief, you want me to click on this? Doink. And then over here. Oh, is that what this is? All right. Well, December 11th. Okay, that's a bit old. But, well, they all say December 11th. I'm not quite sure what that is. But does that, you think that's what I'm supposed to do here? All right. Well, so looks like, there's Thomas. Looks like the boys are doing a great job, Alex and Thomas, on the daily briefs. So awesome. And by all means, maybe the old dinosaur will learn some new tricks here over the next month or two. I think there's a little bit of, hey, we can do a little dance. So thank you, Alex. I appreciate that. Totally awesome. Let's see who else is here. Josh is here in the lounge here this morning. Had a great time with him in the UK. And he's trying to send me a gift, which I will go to the post office and see if I can rustle it up. So thank you, sir. Totally appreciate that. Shane and I tried to go out and get Shane polluted on Friday, but that didn't go so well. I think I got Brian polluted, so I suppose half of the objective was met. But anyway, great to see Shane here in person a little bit on Friday. That was really nice hooking back up with him. And I see Zach is in the lounge here. Zach, next stop for me if I'm going anywhere is to head over to Hawaii and hang with you for a bit. So I was talking a little bit about that earlier. And actually, there's, as I said before, Zach, Alex is looking to relocate. And we were talking about, and he and his girlfriend really like the idea of going to Hawaii next. So you might have some another TRI or in your neighborhood in the relatively short term. Yeah, it'd be great if you can maybe hook him out if he's coming your way to get him settled. Great state, Hawaii. Markets are marketing. I don't really see anything too out of the ordinary. The only problem here, of course, is, you know, how long does it take for us to hit the reset button in things like cryptocurrencies and start the game all over again? I have seen, actually, when I was looking through sort of my list, here's a really good example of how, you know, a lot of these altcoins have just basically been brought right back down to the bottom, and they're starting to perk up. So, you know, by all means, if you are trading, if you happen to have some sort of fundamental driver and you're hunting ideas, you're probably going to get a lot of these little perk ups, and the rallies will come in pretty fast. And, you just got to basically be on your toes and make sure you have your open orders working, all that kind of fun stuff. But you can see there are other names that are still in the process of coming back down to their lows. So, it's a long, slow process unwinding the bull. Here's probably a really good example of, a coin. You can clearly see where the weekly W's came in. And all they're doing is just bringing these names right back down to the original bottoms, which is really good in a way, because it actually, I think a lot of people that are new to crypto think that, oh, I've missed the bus. I missed the boat. It's over. And unfortunately, that's actually what gets them to go in and buy the top of the market here. So, oh, no, it's not coming back. It'll never come back. Oh. But what you actually find happens a lot of the times is they just bring the market right back to the original bottom. This, no point in sugarcoating it for you guys. You can see how long it took for the market to do sort of a lot of back and forthing before insane bull markets get going again. So are we in the kind of phase where we should be expecting new highs on these things? No. It's probably going to take some time to clean all this up still. But, and I even heard a little bit just in the lounge this morning, people talking about how this is a really, really good education for them, and how, you have to understand the way venture capital works, where they do get bid up, and then usually they have to bring them right back down to the bottom and start the whole process all over again. So I really wouldn't be in a big hurry. But, as I said, what I'm liking now is that basically the reset button has been hit, right? Yeah, people are like, oh my God, we're right against the lows. My portfolios are down, right? And if you bought, even if you bought like, on this one, if you bought reload zones in here right now, you're like, oh, I'm done. But really, obviously it's a function of your plan, but I'm looking for like this kind of action. Whoops, not that action. There we go. For me to be selling. I'm not looking to take profits when we're down in here. If anything, I'm just sort of, chilling. We have, I think, I don't know, about 70 or 80,000 left in equity in the little ones. Just on Trex alone. Let's see where Trex is sitting right now. Yeah, about 71. So I'm just going to let all this money just work. And as I've told you guys, we're sitting, TRI sitting on probably, I guess about 130, 140,000 in cash, just waiting for the W's to start coming back in earnest. And I suppose you can make an argument that they won't come back in earnest until the big boy ultimately bottoms. So probably not a bad segue for us to talk a little bit about the big boy. The irony of our conversation basically over the past, this was March, right? Or February. So here we are now in August, right? February, March, April, May, June, July, August, 7 months. And the irony of it all is nothing's really happened here in 7 months. Sure have seen a lot of people humming and hawing about new bull markets and crypto going off the board and all that. And really the irony of it all is just not a heck of a lot's happened. Lots of back and forth, but unfortunately the back and forth is lower highs, boom, boom, boom. And we did have a lower low here, so technically this is an M. I suppose on a weekly basis, if we can hold these lows and then turn back up through this high here, that would actually give us a couple of really cool setups, because it would actually paint a Lien setup, LJ. We used to call it RJ in the past because of the guy who actually we built the setup with. But you can kind of see, and maybe we even go off of this high, but not really relevant. Let's just go off of here. 1, 2, 3. So if we can hold these lows and turn back up on the market structure signal on the other side of that, that will say that the bull's back in charge. But that's an awfully big if right now. I'm not going to suggest that that is what's going to happen. That would be a really big if right now. On balance, for those people that can, and if you are interested in the Bitcoin story, and of course, all brokerage house recommendations always come out with a 3 to 5 year time horizon sort of typical hold period duration. I feel very comfortable now that we are in the green box, good old reload zones, and this is a weekly chart too. I could very easily see us have to swim around here for a while. That's basically what happened the last cycle, right? You can see that here. Come down into the green box. We actually traded below the green box and back up, and you can see the weekly W comes in through the green box, right? And away we go. I could very easily see, guys, this could very easily be our future for the next year or so. And here's the kick in the pants. If you really wanted to buy, and if you really want to be long crypto, you have to force yourself to accumulate through here, right? It might be like over the next year. It was remarkable how I had, like through this part of the bull, I had to, stop people and try and force them not to go all in. And I just said, maybe just try and buy like once a month or maybe once a few weeks and just sort of average your way in. And the irony of it all is that ironically enough, that same strategy is exactly the same, just especially all of you guys that have like, Alex, is a good example. He's a professional and, nice career. He's all over the world and stuff. Very young guy, right? You got your whole future ahead of you. Take the next year and just slowly accumulate this shit because we will go back into this kind of market. It's just not now. But now is the time when, ironically enough, everybody's dying 1,000 deaths. But now is the time when you should be slowly accumulating this shit. So, I do the squiggly line theory for the win kind of idea. To be honest with you, if our future looks like this over the next, what is this? This is August to August, right? This is what our next year looks like. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. Could very easily see dips back down against 2,000-3,000. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. And also, too, if we look at the daily charts, there's some pretty nasty gaps up in this area that I think is sort of going to curtail any kind of major rallies. They'll run into these gaps. And, I don't know where Joshua is, but Joshua's, awesome gap hunter. He used them to great effect on the way down. And now, ironically enough, now we'll be using the gaps as actual upside targets on various altcoins. No YouTube. Sorry, Stella, I didn't see that. I suppose you've been sitting there for a few minutes with that question. Let's see. How do I do that? It's around here somewhere. Hold on a second. There it is. The Broiler Chicken Show. Yeah. There you can hear Brian's still got his singing voice. There you go. One YouTube link. Merry Christmas. Okay. I think we got that going for that person. I thought it would be a good idea for you guys. And, I really want to be a demonstrator of best practices here with you. Since I came back, you can see I've made a concerted effort to be a pretty good, simple role model of what I think journaling should look like. I happen to have on both my personal trading and notes and also a TRI business. You don't necessarily need to have those in yours, but I really do think it's a great idea. What did I see? Did I learn anything today? And how do I feel? And basically every day I'm coming in and just basically writing what I'm seeing. So my latest journal entries, Bitcoin marks stopped going down mid yesterday and started to consolidate. I was a little fearful. Like yesterday, I was putting out some tweets. And it's interesting because we're going to have to learn this. This, you know, if anything, maybe even an education note is maybe something like Bitcoin's weekend activity is very different than weekly activity. I remember Thomas was even mentioning that he's noticed that there's a big difference between sort of weekend and weekday activity. As we were sort of heading into the weekend in earnest, did see some really nasty, maybe we can just load this here, some really nasty price action on the daily charts, painting almost like railroad tracks, which is really nasty. You don't like to see this. This is a pretty bad sign. Right at really important trend line support. I suppose you could argue that now with this very well-defined top here, if we break through this low, that would be sort of a Leanne James or LJ short setup. And, you know, we need to acknowledge this, guys. I mean, this is just brutal reality of this space, kind of like what I was saying with the with this weekly chart. You know, if we lose these lows here, don't be shocked if we have to come back down, probably even into this institutional fingerprint right down here, this tail, and the original breakout level there, right? This level here is probably going to be pretty significant support. So that low there is 29.72, right? And you can see my squiggly line theory is looking for some sort of dump through there. So we're at a really tough trade location here, guys. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. This is tricky. If this can bottom and turn up, like I said, maybe we have potential weekly W's and we can form a long-lasting bottom. But as I said just a moment ago, I was putting that that piece out yesterday as we were railroad tracksing there nastily. And if we lost this trend line here, I've got now 3 AB equals CDs. Boom, 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 boom. Takes us down into that 3100, the orange one. Boom, 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 boom. Takes us down into, I guess, about 3900 or so. And this little white one, boom, 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 which takes us down into 3500. And you can see parking garage extension levels 1618 to 200%, right? And that happens to correspond. There's a 127 there and a 127 there. So my hunch here is if we do lose these lows, don't be shocked, guys, if we dump down into here. Just don't be shocked. I mean, it's going to suck. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But don't be like, holy shit, nobody told me that this could happen. This is very realistic possibility here. And we just have to get used to it. The problem that I see, I think probably really what jumps out at me is that, and I find it kind of sad, basically 1 year ago was right through here, right? So even August right now, it'll be interesting to see if they can actually take Bitcoin year over year negative. We haven't seen a year over year negative out of Bitcoin in a long time. So all through this period here, and it's interesting right here, September, then we go through September. You can still see it's positive, and then finally into the final dump, we actually have a negative print. And so now year over year negative print. Once that sort of happens, then we can start climbing the wall of worry, right? Because year over year percentage gains are going to show losses. So I think that if anything, that's sort of the point that we have to get to is when do we finally hit that sort of year over year negative print? So just right now, August and July, August, that's right into here. You can still see that we're painting a positive print here. As soon as we start painting a negative print year over year, I think we probably hit our bottom. So I'm not quite sure when that happens, but probably keep an eye out for that. The day that you see where it says negative, year over year returns on Bitcoin are actually negative, that's probably the day that Bitcoin ultimately bottoms. Shane says, when doing some math a few days ago about mining about 8,700 USD to preclude a BTC, I was totally off. LOL. Okay. I still like your thesis of, basically, me personally, I like the thesis of this kind of market where they basically run it up, slam it down, and then go sideways, right? Print that year over year print so that you have a negative print so that you know that the bottom's in. And then we just go sideways and then start the next run up. Obviously, you never know how long it's going to take, but that's sort of what I'm seeing here. Slam down, nice sideways. Excuse me. Put in some sort of base, right? And then we can start the rally again. Thank you, Zach. I appreciate that. So, crypto, you guys all know, can't push a chain. I love the idea that if you can force yourself to just do like a dollar cost averaging, what's really weird is I started working with Sjord right in this area here. And we had the breakout, and he was all excited about Bitcoin, like $600. That was right in here. And I distinctly remember telling the boys, just put yourself on a dollar cost averaging program. And really, you could argue all the people that all through this just did a dollar cost averaging, just, once a month, once every couple months, just go in and force yourself to buy some. When the market finally stabilizes and starts getting going in earnest, you can see all hell breaks loose. And, what do you think? Do you think those guys probably did pretty well? I think they did. So now that we're into green boxes, I love the idea of just forcing yourself to do a dollar cost averaging program. And when this thing eventually turns and starts putting in W's, you can always load up a bit more. And really, I might argue for the altcoin space, really not a hell of a lot to do until this thing does ultimately bottom. We'll probably know that the bottom is in when Litecoin gets ready for its happening. Because it seems like that was the last time, the last go that we had. Let's see how we do this. LTC. Where's the best place to see this? I think on Phoenix, maybe Stamp. Let's see. Let's go. See how old this is. Let's see the daily. Will that work? Yeah, there we go. So here was Litecoin's bottoming, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And it just sort of felt like as Litecoin came down and the whole market just thumped into January 2015. But it just felt like this was actually the leader. And the interesting thing is, I remember specifically through this, there was a guy in China who made a fortune on a Ponzi scheme. And then, of course, he got caught up top here and got destroyed. But there were a lot of guys that made really, really great money on this. And this was basically Litecoin's happening. And it sort of started the whole, all right, we've finished going down and we're going to start going up again kind of chatter in the community. So if anybody here in the lounge happens to know when that Litecoin halving event happens, I think it's mid-2019 if I'm not mistaken. That's probably our sort of next big catalyst to look for. And you could argue, looking at Litecoin, there's obviously this big honking tail right here. So 352 days. All right. So, the actual halving, I think, happened like right here. So if anything, you know what that tells me? And does anybody remember what my, do you remember what my challenge for you, Alex, was when I was over in Europe? And Josh, I don't know whether I was talking to you guys in UK about this, but I have a challenge for everybody on the website. Does anybody remember what the challenge is? What the hell is Brian talking about? Anyway, and it's a personal challenge, right? I hope all of you can live up to the challenge. And actually, we've and that reminds me a couple things. That's right, very good, Josh. Oh, so I did remember. So the challenge for all of you guys is don't go and blow yourself up, right? If you really like, seriously, if you really want to learn this profession, you want to learn how to be a trader, right? This crazy ass life of trading. And then, of course, the next insane venture cap rally we have, you're out there buying Lambos for yourself. Then force yourself just to stick around and show up. I don't know whether I was recording, but one thing I said but when I started off this call today was Alex is showing up every day. He's in the lounge. He's posting setups. He's like, I really like this idea. I like that idea. And every day he's showing up. You guys want to be a trader? You want to do this for the rest of your life? And there's more money than you'll ever need. Obviously in bear markets, you got to cool your jets. And a lot of you new people are, sort of come to the site, get rich quick, blah, 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 blah. You're like, what the fuck, Brian? The past 6 months has been crap. But, in fact, I was chatting with another gentleman, Frank, who I would really like to get going as a PMA advisor on the site. Frank, Ivan, and Sonny. All three of them are like super PMA dudes. Basically I told Frank, I said, look at, the next bull and bear markets, they come and go, right? You just have to, force yourself to cool your jets during the bear. But the point is that I will know that you've made it if you actually show up in Vancouver next summer. I know that you will be fine for the rest of your life if you show up. And between now and then, and even like somebody who doesn't even want to risk any money right now, between now and then, show me like 50 paper trades, like make it a goal that I'm going to take 3 paper trades a month. And next July, and the challenge was that this summer I went out and I visited everybody in Europe, at least as many people as I could. Next summer, I want you all to come to Vancouver. And if you accept that challenge, and we've even put together a little bit of a fund, and guys like Frank are going to contribute. A lot of the Europeans said that they were going to contribute to the fund. So, even if you're paper trading and you're working really hard, I will find a way to get you that plane ticket to Vancouver if you make the commitment that, hey, I'm going to stick around here and I want to be part of that Vancouver meetup next year. That's my challenge to all of you. And if you can make it to next Vancouver, if you can make it to that meeting, then I know that you're going to be fine. The people that give up through this bear slog here, I know that they were just the looky-loos and they didn't really want to learn how to be a professional trader. They were just here to get rich quick. And unfortunately, the market has a bad habit of washing those people out. So that's my challenge. No, they're not even going to do it, so they've given up, eh? Too bad. Oh, well. Dogecoin or not, my challenge to all of you, and if anything, this is going to be the hardcore trader community, is I want that meetup in next July here in Vancouver. Maybe what we'll do is we'll do 1 year Dogecoin on, 1 year TRICon on, then 1 year Dogecoin on, and 1 year TRICon. So when Dogecoin is happening, that's when I travel around the world. The year that Dogecoin is off, I'll take a break, and you guys have to come to Vancouver. Anyway, so the point of the matter here is, I think as far as I'm concerned, the next sort of fundamental catalyst, I think, is going to be Litecoin halvening kind of talk. And remember, for all those people that were here through that, there was a hell of a rally, and there were a lot of guys that made a lot of money on this Litecoin trade when it halved. And that sort of set the bottom. You can see the sort of bottom to form that rally came in at the very end of 2014, beginning of 2015. Basically took almost the better part of 6 months for that base to sort of congeal. And that's sort of almost exactly what I'm thinking needs to happen in crypto, right? And so if we go look at Bitcoin, same thing. Bottom came in basically the beginning of 2015. This was in essence that Litecoin rally, which sort of, set the stage for Bitcoin's halving event rally and sort of turned the tide in the space. And really, I wouldn't be surprised if that's sort of what happens. And really, my same comment I made a moment ago is if you can just force yourself to go in and average in through weekly green boxes, I think you do pretty well in this space. And here we are at a weekly green box. So, do with that information as you please. You can try and time this a little bit better. You want to try and pick these lows. Great. I don't have a problem with that. If anything, these lows, kind of like, the Bitcoin dad low and even the low that we had here just recently, you want to try and just inject something like, I will consider doing my dollar cost average buys when I hear about things like suicide hotlines. That, it sucks. It's brutal reality of this capitalist machine. But I've seen repeatedly in this Bitcoin space that literally you can almost set your watch that when the suicide hotline talk starts getting going, you go on Twitter and you see people are saying, that's it, I give up, I've had enough, I'm selling everything, I wish I'd never looked at crypto to begin with. That's a fantastic time to be thinking about going in and buying. So do with that as you please. Am I convinced that the bottom is in here just yet? No. I think there's still a heck of a lot more work to be done. And as I sort of put out that tweet there just a moment ago, what screen do I have that on? Oh, here it is over here. If we fail at this important level right here, I think these are the levels that we need to be looking for. And it looks like I'm seeing here 32, 35, 39, somewhere in that area. It looks like that's our next stop. Very, very important level here. And if we lose these lows, just be cognizant of what probably needs to happen here. And you can even see on the profile, right? There, for this profile to balance itself out like a nice parabola, you can see there's a bit of work that needs to be done down here. So just be cognizant of that. It's not the most rosiest of reports, but at least I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. I mean, at least, let's call a spade a spade. If we drill down to lower time frames, and actually what I really like I'm seeing here recently, I've set up the grid where I'm going to watch Japan and Phoenix, and they seem to be moving very closely. And then I have on here the OK coin forwards and the MEX forwards. So I've got this nice sort of two screen sort of layout. I'm going to, me personally, be taking setups off of the MEX and the OK coin accounts going forward. And really what I want to see is sort of a consensus amongst all these markets. We could sort of start at the higher time frame and then just sort of work our way down. If we use this OK coin, which I think is basically fine. You can see all my A, B equals CDs. I've done them up here. Those are all those levels. So at least we have an idea what's going on. As well, I also have on San's institutional bias script here, which I just love. Such a great little script. I think all of you guys should do yourself a favor and throw that on your charts. But you can see the institutional bias here rolled over bearish. And that was right after this nasty M, which literally formed, like literally I left for the trip right here. Basically the top of the market. So in essence, I leave for the trip. Everybody's feeling rah, rah, bull. And we run into literally a buzzsaw. Yeah, Jiminy Crickets. As we said, the institutional bias, of course, is now, and I love this sort of background, it's now red. So it's tough for us to be thinking too aggressively on the bull side for now. If anything, we just got to cool our jets. Well, same old, same old. You can clearly see the M. And what was really interesting is this head and shoulders pattern. It basically played out textbook. So there was a cute little trade that formed here. Well, we can even take it up to that level there. Actually, maybe probably the best one to do is the head and shoulders pattern. Its target is usually a 200% extension. So there is 200%. So you can clearly see that into that 81.32 level, any of the traders that actually traded this head and shoulders, they got their profit objective. It's a nice, clean, simple trade. But unfortunately, and I've often seen this in the past, once these trades play themselves out, you know, that was the trade. And actually, we had a really good example of this in 2014. I remember through that bull market, we called it the trade of the year. That was basically this move here. And it set up, this was China ban, China ban, China ban. And in the level 1 course, we teach about, you know, buy the rumor, sell the news, sell the rumor, buy the news. I think this was a great example of sell the rumor, buy the news. As soon as the China ban hit, which was basically right here, the market stopped going down and it produced this trade. Boom. And then shortly thereafter, big nasty M, and see you later. Well, you know, kind of the same thing had just happened here. So we had a pretty nice little long setup. The setup hit its objective, nasty M right afterward, and bam, right back down against these lows. You know, as we sort of, and Julian was actually pointing this out, and I thought that was very good work on his part. Especially for newer people to trading, it's not a bad idea for you to try and, you know, start with, and that's why I like this institutional bias sort of script. What is the higher time frame trend? And then just simply force yourself to hunt setups based off the higher time frame trend. So considering this higher time frame is pointing bearish, I really don't mind the idea of hunting short setups through here. And remember that tweet that I put out yesterday, we had some really nasty, nasty price action come in through most of yesterday. At one point, this candle was sitting right down at these lows and painting just basically a railroad tracks. And the worst part about it is if you just went by crypto to crypto to crypto to crypto to crypto to crypto, almost every single one of them had this nasty red bar following the big green up bar. And I mean, like, it was across the board, almost every single one. The only one that sort of dodged the bullet here was this Monero, which is interesting. All it did was put in a doji. But most of these, it was just a nasty, nasty top. Now, the good part about this is, because we sort of came off the lows, which was encouraging, and because yesterday's high, you can see just on, say, the Bitcoin tether here, you can see that yesterday's high was a higher high. We can't really say how this was a railroad tracks. If anything, what we have to be thinking here is fractal. So what that does mean, and considering this was Saturday, and then they brought the market back off of its lows, opened up today, and you can see today's a doji day. In essence, what that means is if we are going to get a sell signal, and it kind of makes sense because the adults are going to come back to the party, Really, if this candle finishes like this, and frankly speaking, I don't know whether this candle's going to finish like this today. You just don't know. But as it stands right now, this is going to be now a fractal sell signal if tomorrow's bar goes down through these lows. So we'll see how that plays out. Railroad tracks off the table because we did rally off of the lows, and this high was higher than that high technically. And really, ironically enough, all today is right now so far is just an inside bar. If we're really lucky and the adults come back after sort of fucking around with the kids on the weekend and we print up through this high and this sort of stays as it is, then actually it's not going to be a harami. But because this low is higher than this low, technically we could actually print an inside bar here, a bullish inside bar. And if that's the case, then hey, maybe we still got a shot to move our way higher. I think in the short term, though, you know, when I look at this, especially when you see these huge wicks and this huge tail, that's actually our trading range right now. And so it's fascinating how they took it right up against the top end of that range, opened it up, beep, tried to take it up through the top, and then boom, slammed it back down. You know, squiggly line theory would basically just suggest that this is our trading range for the time being. Pretty wide range, eh? And as I had sort of said, that Leanne James sort of setup and all those tweets and stuff, it would fire on a break of that low there. So just like we saw through here and this rally up to eat this wick up here, we could very easily see, and it would be kind of cool to see, a nice, well, we don't want to see it go through that low, but a nice big red candle down against these lows. And then the next day, a green candle up through these to create exact opposite of what we see there. That would be like a bullish railroad tracks. So we'll see how it goes. Like so and like so, just the exact opposite of this. But in essence, I think this is our trading range for the time being, and it's a wide one. Really nasty. And of course, like I said just a moment ago, if we end up losing this low here, then that's like off all those tweets. That's gonna, you know, basically open the gates, right? If we lose through this low, that's a break of these trend lines. That would be market structure failure, and down we go. Some, you know, would even say, well, if we got a candle body close below this low, that would paint an M. But me personally, I'm still thinking, and you notice that on the tether, that did go through that high, but notice here on the OK Coin forwards, it did not go through that high. So for the time being, I'm still very much thinking that this is our trading range right in here. And this is a really, really nasty battleground. If we lose this low and, you know, mark it on your calendar, it's pretty simple. 57.55 basically implies that we've lost 6,000. Then I think the bear is still on, and we have to be thinking about all these crazy-ass downside objectives down into this area. Boo, hiss, hiss, boo. Now, that sort of brings us to, you know, that would be sort of, you know, higher time frame, position trading, and then this would be sort of more like swing trading. For those people that are interested in day trading, I had somebody the other day suggest to me that they really like the idea of me posting maybe like 2 setups a week for people to chew on. So I'm going to make a sort of a concerted effort to just hunt and report setups that I see off the hourly chart. It seems to me that that produces a good couple trade ideas per week. We did have originally through the weekend this bullish bot, and you can see we were talking a bit about the lows. It ran up to the 50% level, which means that on a pullback to 25, you got to walk away, stop at break even, and just walk away at scratch. So in essence, that's what this bar here did. It basically told botters that they had to walk away at scratch. And if I'm not mistaken, on my trading journal, since I was just getting back into the groove, I'm not going to really hold myself to account. Where are we here? Crypto. So I've noted these as paper, but nonetheless, basically going to fill this out and just show you guys the setups as we're working along here. Remember, before I left, I put on the ETC and the ETH trades, and so there is basically the notation that the ETC trade failed, and I walked away. I still technically have that ETH trade open, so I'm going to just watch and see how badly I get burnt there. And a good lesson for all of you guys. Let's see how badly Brian has to eat crow on that one for not covering the position before he left. But nonetheless, we'll see what happens. We can talk a little bit about that later on if you want. But anyway, so I've noticed we had this bot set up, basically stopped at scratch. And then we also had this L Tanguinator that just fired. And that fired on the failure of the bot. Gonna call it a paper trade for the time being, but nonetheless, you can see the bearish divergence that came in on the MACD. And Willie did officially get stupidly overbought. So we have a confirmed bear div on the MACD and Willie stupid. And if we took the short off the fractal here, and you can see it gave you an opportunity on this bar to get short, this bar to get short, this bar to get short, even this bar to get short. So you can't say you didn't have the opportunity to take the trade. The 50% level bot can somebody just let Amory know that I'm in the middle of a video right now? Maybe somebody can just post in the lounge. Brian's dealing his daily brief. But anyway, long and short of it here is this L Tanguinator seems to be working away. 2.37 risk reward. I could understand if somebody did take this short and all these W's started to come in and they just wanted to cover it basically 1-to-1. I wouldn't have a problem with that, but I'm just, for the illustration purposes on the site, I just wanted to see how this thing played out. My hunch is that this thing wants to come down into that 6,000 area here. So we're just going to let this play out. And again, I'll just keep posting these things. Ideally, I would like to post a good at least 2 trades a week for you guys to chew on. So then at least you have lots of ideas to kick around. I thought it was really interesting that this tag right here happened to be exactly a 2-to-1 risk reward off of this fractal top. So I found that very interesting. But nonetheless, I like to use the 50% rule for the L Tanguinator. So we're going to just have this as our target. And if it's hit, then great. We book the trade. Paper at this point. I didn't take it for real. But in essence, I'm just sort of getting into the habit of taking setups. And like I said, ideally, I'd like to post like 2 or 3 setups a week for you. So over the short term, what am I thinking? I'm thinking that the market wants to head lower here. Some people were posting in the lounge this morning, well, technically, Brian, this low held, and now this low held. So could you justify taking this W within a W, the original bot level? Yeah, you could. I certainly wouldn't argue it. I wouldn't fight it. And your stop still has to be down at this, what is that, 60.83, right down in this area here. So it's interesting how the 50% level, the L Tanguinator trade might actually have its target hit, and yet these lows are not taken out. So I think my general feeling is I want to see this, especially with this big notch in the profile here. I'd like to see this get taken out. You could argue that we had a bit, and this is interesting too, because with this original W, let's see how I can do this. All right, with this original W here, in price, we actually also had a W in OBV and a W in Willie at the same time. So interestingly enough, I think you could actually call this a little mini Davo. And ideally, Dav, if I'm not mistaken, he likes to hunt for, like, say, 2-to-1 off of the setup. So I don't know whether this actually hit 2-to-1. Let's see. I'm not quite sure where he'd risk down to. Maybe those lows. 1.81. So not quite 2-to-1. And that's assuming you did the clotheslines. I suppose if you did clotheslines, you could go off of here. Come on, you. Nope, you're not going to fight me, are you? All right, fine. So what's this? This is 62.20. Something like that. That look right? Yeah. So, yeah, okay. You know, on clotheslines, if you played, like, if we change this to a line chart. All right. If you played that W based off of this W and this W, Davo, right? And you risk to a close below this level here, which would mean that you'd have to have balls of steel to be able to handle intra bar swings. I'm not going to say that's easy. Sometimes that can get really difficult. But you can see 2-to-1. I think that Davo actually played itself out. And I think he would be thinking like into here. So that cute little trade setup there, I think, played itself out. If you're trading, like I said, that bigger bot setup off of those levels, then I think you still have to be risking against this low here. And like I said, El Tangonator, he's still hunting for this bar here to be hit. So we'll see how that goes. And then right after this WW hit 2-to-1, in comes an M and an M. And actually, interesting enough, it looks like this is almost also a divergence there. And back down we go. So lots of back and forth. And, you know, I had mentioned earlier that it felt like kind of a bit of an odd market right now in that we're sort of doing that weekend trading. I noticed that the tone of trade seems to change. We may find that sort of once weekend trade is done, then the adults come back and we resume the up. And it's too early to tell right now, but I'll just leave this trade metric on the El Tangonator and let's see how it plays out. My hunch is I like a tag of the 61.28 area here over the short term. We will see how that goes. And of course, you know, hopefully all of you guys are sort of seeing that, you know, one thing that I really noticed that kind of bugs me, and it still seems to be the case on Twitter, is, you know, people were coming out on like here and saying, oh man, these guys are they're the shit. They're so awesome. They called the bottoms. They called the turns. And then, you know, and actually probably the best chart is for us to show this, right? So the market jumps up here and everybody's like, oh yeah, this guy's OG. He's just awesome. He totally called the bottom. Nobody else called the bottom, right? And then all of a sudden on today, you know, yesterday's down day and then today's sort of further malaise in some of these names, all those people go very quiet. You know, when I look at this, of course, everybody should just see one letter of the alphabet here on these lows, right? These are all V bottoms, right? And technically V bottoms should be tested. I don't think it's really, I mean, do you really have any like higher time frame trade setups off of V bottoms? Not often. You know, W's usually are sort of our sign of bottoms. So, you know, if anything, I don't think it's in our community's best interest to get too excited about just dead cat bounces off of lows. And of course the Twitter audience, oh, this guy's OG, man, he caught the bottom. Oh yeah, so perfect. We could very easily roll over here and bust through these lows. The statistical odds, I think it's basically a coin toss. And like I said, now that the market's sort of rolled over and we're starting to come back down, all of those people just mysteriously disappear. So please don't get sucked into the Twitter nonsense. It drives you absolutely crazy. Try and figure out what your plan is. I think it's a good idea, especially if we're thinking higher time frames, for us to be hunting W's. And, if anything, what we've seen over this, we talked about this a moment ago. We've actually have a pretty wide trading range established with these crazy ass wicks and tails here. It seems to me that it's in our best interest, looking at Phoenix here, for example. It's in our best interest just to let this really wide, nasty range resolve itself. That's a new low there, right? So let this range resolve itself before we make any huge, conclusions about price action here, guys. I really think that's in our best interest. All right. So, and, the cool part about it is you've heard Thomas and I talk lots about this in the past. This will now, in my opinion, if we do resolve higher, this will set up one hell of a trade location off of these candle body lows. At some point in the future, even now watching this, I would love to be hunting for a trade location off of here. And then if we do things like reload zones off of this entire range, right, what you should see is, so you can you see how Mountain Man level is basically right there? Can you guys see that? You think that's an accident? I don't. So, if you're hunting trade location, that is like silver bullet trade location in there. Right down there. Now, I don't know. Maybe they bring it up a bit higher. There's 30 SMA, right? The interesting thing is, oh, gee whiz. Did you see how now 78.6 is basically going to be against those candle bodies, right? If they can rally it all the way up here, trade location, ironically enough, doesn't really change a heck of a lot against those candle body lows. So I don't know. Long and short of it here, I think for the short term, and especially position traders, higher time frame traders, if you want to do your dollar cost averaging, we're in that window now where, if you can force yourself to just dollar cost average, great, go for it. If you're thinking about trying to time your purchases a little bit better and you want to try and sneak your way in on really good levels, I love the idea of hunting setups down in here. And because this is a V bottom, I was a little bit leery about the bot with this and this massive tail that really needs to be eaten at some point. I think I like the idea of us just trying to find a nice little dip into these levels. Then some nice inside bar action, maybe a divergence or something to help us, maybe off like the 4 hour or something. And then we can rock and roll. And actually a really sort of good dovetail to that is if we look at the, and actually I think I had it on, this chart over here. If that L Tangonator has its objective hit, right, we come down into these levels. I really like the idea of this head and shoulders forming here. And again, low of this bar, candle body lows. This is the original structure. There is the inside bar fractal that fired the bull signal. Could we get a nice little dip, especially through like sort of Tuesday, Wednesday kill zones? For the London boys and the New York boys to basically get a signal at the bottom. I love that idea. And if we're really lucky, this paints a nice inverted head and shoulders, and just kind of like what we did through here, you see how long it took to form. And ideally, I'd love to see, notice this right shoulder against these candle body, the original structure, the lows, and the beautiful little W that came in through here, right? And look at this cute little div in MACD, Willie nice and stupid. So that's ideally what I'd love to see somewhere sort of midweek here. What do you think, guys? Does that make sense? I think that would be ideal. But, look, it's going to do what the market does. But if I had sort of my druthers, that's what I'd love to see. So I'm going to be keeping my eyes open for that. All right. not really much else to comment about in the broader market. Like I said, if we lose these lows, then we have to be thinking down here. If we can somehow come back against these lows, fill in the tails, right? Right now, we had talked about this as a megaphone. If we can just clean this up a little bit, give a bit better structure to this, then hey, maybe we got some sort of pivot bottom here. But it's a bit early still, I think, for us to be thinking too bullish. And if anything, what should happen, if we're really lucky, just the way that this turned and then the institutional bias turned back up on the resolution, maybe that's what we see through here, right? By time we actually do all this bottoming action and it turns back up, then the institutional bias turns back up and rah bull. And if they can run this market back up through the top here, then we'll have a weekly W, and hey, we can actually start getting excited about being bullish again. But I think that's still quite a ways away. You all know my fun story about Ethereum, so I'm going to track this and see how badly I get punished here. You can clearly see where I should have exited this trade, but of course I was on the road, couldn't do anything about it. And it's sort of backfilling here, and I'm going to just use this as simple illustration of why you need to cover trades when they break. So we'll see how that goes. And as I said, I don't really see any pound the table altcoin ideas. I do see lots of back against the low end of the ranges and dead cat bounces. And if you can take advantage of this and you're slick and you're sharp on your toes and you can step in on these inside bars and risk against the lows, yeah, there is money to be made, but I'm not going to sugarcoat this. This is going to be tough trading. I noticed that this big crystal seems to be catching a bit. Look at that crazy-ass weekly tail, eh? But nothing really egregiously. If anything, here's a good example of Joby Gap. So you can see a nice weekly Joby Gap signal. It's pretty powerful. But no weekly W's yet, eh? Lots of V bottoms off the lows. What we really want to see is V bottom, come back, test the low, turn back up. All right, we got a bull, and away we go. So we're still pretty early in that process. Stock market, we're heading into the fall, so I don't think it should surprise anybody. Brian's thinking about buying puts. But, please understand, usually the market tops out, end of August, beginning of September. Labor Day, could they go up and push this? This is the S&P 500. Could they push this thing up to a new high and then crap it out? Sure. The market does that all the time. I do like the idea of this SQQQ, that all I'm really looking for is just a nice move back up into these areas to give me a double on my option. And I was a bit surprised that just even on this bump up here, the option prices started to get bid up. But if you wanted to join me, you can see where I bought my call. These are the call options on this inverted ETF, inverse into ETF. So just be patient, right? And if we do push the stock market to new highs, we should see this thing come back down against value low, and you can join me there. But no real hurry. I'm not in a hurry whatsoever on any of this. This is a March option basically all the time in the world. Bought into the uranium stocks, and I'm hearing a lot of people getting really bullish about uranium these days, so that's interesting. Same sort of thing here. If you do want to join me, they even left a juicy gap right at basically the level that I bought this thing, so you want to work a bid, awesome. The gold stocks, it's interesting. Newmont made a new low here on Friday, so I'm not really in a big hurry just yet. And our beloved little Alio that Mike was so interested in, of course, he made another new low, so there's nothing to do there yet. I was really interested, though. I went on the stock charts, or, what do you call this? Trading View. And put in a really simple screener, and hopefully Sjord and stuff, when they get going on the site and stuff, they can get all these screeners and stuff going on here. But I just did a really simple screen. I just said, show me stocks that have less than 50 million shares out. where the price closed above its, in this particular case, closed above its 10-period exponential moving average. That's the short EMA that TradingView gives you for the screener. But the price is lower than the 200 SMA. So in essence, crossing above the fast EMA and using the 200-period SMA sort of 50% level as sort of your target tool, and also prices above the volume weighted moving average. So not only does it cross above the EMA, but also cross above the weighted moving average. It actually produced some really interesting screen results. So here's one I was very interested in, intact gold. And of course, with the current seasonality, I really do like the idea of hunting long ideas in the gold space right now. Seasonally, they're heading into sort of their friendly window now. So I thought that was really interesting. And, there's some ideas that are like, okay. I mean, really, I don't see anything too impressive there. I mean, hopefully everybody sees reload zones, key reversals, double bottoms, right? You're starting to see, even the stuff that we hunt in crypto, you can start to see it in the stock market as well. I'd like to see volume come in here. I haven't figured out how to add volume criteria to their screening tool, but nonetheless, you can see there are some very interesting ideas here. So, what I want to see is I want to see lots of buying interest. When I actually, if you pull up this one, it turns out the president and CEO got a massive options grant at 7.5 cents. So hopefully it makes sense why Brian would be interested in bidding in this thing down in here. And, it closed at 10. There's no reason why you can't work a bid at 8, 9, whatever. And, basically a tag at 200 SMA. You can see the big old gap up here on this chart right up to 22 cents. There's also another gap right here to 19, 18, 19 cents. I think I should be able to get a double off there and get myself a free look. So there are little penny stocks in our, anybody who was in our RSP group through the spring. Typically I don't like buying stocks after May. I'd rather wait till the end of the summer doldrums, and you can sort of see why. There really usually isn't a heck of a lot going on. These stocks all are, of course, rolled back stocks, and they're cleaning themselves up, options to directors, yada, yada, yada. And you can see nice low share counts. So, I am actually interested in nibbling away in the stock market on some of these VCIM ideas. And I think that's basically my report for the day. I don't know. Did anybody get any value out of what I offered here today? Hope so. The only other thing I'll mention here is I am interested in the bonds as well. So I'm going to be keeping a close eye on whether the bonds go in W here, and if so, I might buy a call option there. I think that's about it for today. All right, guys. Well, I did see that Grim was trying to put together a Forex trading group. So I think if anything, on the site, and frankly, I don't know how these boys are going to build all this out. But what I did like on the Rocket chat was there are these channels. So we have the day trader sort of group, and really I would like this to be sort of Jacob. Jacob sort of really took the bull by the balls about, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago, and we put together a day traders group spreadsheet. I don't have the link handy, but we should probably, I think if I'm not mistaken, pin Alex. All right. So Alex got that, and that day trader group spreadsheet somebody pinned to the top of the group. So I really like this idea. We have this channel here for the day traders. If you're practicing day trading, that's sort of like those 1-hour charts, 15-minute charts, 30-minute charts, right? And all of you guys, right, make a commitment that between now and next July, at the very least, you're going to take like 50 day trades, right? Force yourself at least a couple times a month to be in there and force yourself to learn this. I think that would be an awesome investment for everybody. We have the lounge, and the lounge should be just sort of, your meet and greet. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Kind of idea. I spoke with, well, I didn't speak with, but I was exchanging emails with Frank. And I'll just quickly show you this. It's not really anything that you need to take specific reference to. Where is it? But Frank sent me a nice email, and he actually is starting up a sort of personal coaching website, frankstefancoaching.com. So he hasn't got it up and running just yet, but in essence, he is getting it going. What I thought was so cool is he said that he's already starting to work with one of our veterans, Sen, who is sort of my host in Netherlands. He's already working with him. And also the Burgermeister. Frank did a session with the Burgermeister's wife or girlfriend. I can't remember. I think they're married. I'm not sure. And they're starting to see some, I'm getting reported that they're starting to see some really good feedback. So I would like to create sort of a PMA, personal growth, self-help channel here. And Shane, you remember you made reference to your friend here locally in Vancouver. You were working with them. That's the kind of thing that I'd love if you want to put that person's reference into that channel as well. So if Sjord or Julian, you're watching this afterward, those are some priorities that I have going forward. And in my little journal, right, because now I want to be a demonstrator of best practices for you guys, I have in my journal sort of what are the kind of things that I'm shooting for site resources and stuff. I really want to get that PMA self-help room going on the Rocket Chat for Frank. As well, we have Sunny, and we also have Ivan. They're all like super PMA guys. As I said, Jacob, I would like, and if you watch this later on, Jacob, I'd like for that basically, take over that day trading room, be a good role model. We have that spreadsheet if you want to join it to show your setups. And of course, anybody else who's interested in practicing day trading, right on. And Julian, actually, he and I were going to get together earlier today. He's working away on an options module for spread trading. So I think we'd like to try and get working on that for him. And of course, I'm constantly asking the boys when, give me an ETA on when all these sort of site resources and stuff are coming online. So, if anything, if you guys want to replicate what I've done here for my personal journey, I think my journal, I think it helps me sort of keep sane and focused. And I sort of get a running list of everything that I have to do for both my personal trading and TRI stuff. And as well, like I said, I just want to be a really good role model for you guys and just sort of demonstrate best practices. And you see, of course, Shane, do you see this note here? Got to get my hipster pants. I don't know whether he's here or not, but anyway. So, I think I'll probably leave today's report at that. The site is slowly filling itself out. I'm not quite sure how we're going to get the Rocket Chat rooms to match this. That's obviously something Sjord's going to work away on here. I don't know. I don't think it makes sense for us to have a stock trading, trade signals, day trader like that. I do like the idea of us having these channels. So, Sjord, if you can sort of, quarterback that so that these things become channels for people, I think that would be awesome. Crypto trading versus stock trading, I don't know about that. I do like the idea of that RRSP room for people that are very interested in saving for their retirement and, registered plans and stuff like that. And just keep in mind, everybody, we're slowly building this out. And what's so great about the site is I don't know whether we have it here or not, but what I really liked was Geez, I can't even remember where it is. But I think it was this page. Yeah, nope, not that one. There was like a list of what people kind of wanted to see get done. Yeah, here we go. So, you know, we're getting a lot of requests for sort of a trading journal for you guys to use. You know, you can replicate mine, but hopefully maybe we can do some work with Evernote or something, I think the name of that service was. You know, obviously the screeners, get them going. Badges, right? I would really like that when you go into the lounge, right, you can at least see sort of where the appropriate levels for people are. Right now, we still don't have that. So, you know, we're still working away on that. So, Sjord, I think that's a priority. So, lots of stuff to look forward to here in the near future. You know, at least we've got the new website up and running. So, that's a good thing. Probably an FYI with regard to the fall school term. I think we're going to start the week after Labor Day. So Labor Day falls on the 3rd. So probably 1, 2, 3 weeks from now. Probably the week of the 10th, we'll get the new school term up and running. And of course, the level 2 and level 3ers will meet once a week. So probably something like the level 2, the first class will be the 15th. And the level 3, the first class will be the 22nd, something like that. So just an FYI for you guys. Yeah, does that answer that question, Zach? No. And what I think I'm going to do for this term coming up is we'll do class on Saturday. And then the following Wednesday, we'll do like our open tutorial session for whichever week it was. So if level 1 class or level 2 class was the 15th, then the 19th will be the group tut, right? For level 2, then 22nd will be the level 3 first class. So the 26th will be the group tut. And then the 29th will be the level 2 second class. The 3rd will be its group tut. Does that make sense? So we'll just go off and on like that. Okay, I think I've done enough blabbing here for today. Hope you guys got some value out of all this. Nice to see that we are making progress on the site. It is slowly working its way. And hopefully I'm being a good demonstrator of journaling, and I would recommend all of you guys do this. It's not even really recommend. You have to do it, guys. You just have to. You have no choice. So get off your butt and start journaling. And like I said, everybody has their secret assignment. I want to see you in Vancouver next summer. And that means even if you're not risking a single fucking penny, I want to see you day trading and position trading and swing trading and journaling and logging, and take the time while crypto's in the bear right now to practice. Get good at this. Get good at finding location. Get good at finding divergence. Get good at finding structure. So you can see this shit in your sleep, and then you know, you come to that conference next summer, and I will know that you are a fucking kick-ass trader, and you'll have this skill for the rest of your life. So that's my challenge to each and every one of you. I want to see you in Vancouver next summer, and I want you to show me at that conference, Brian, here's my 50 paper trades of whatever strategy I felt works best for me, and now I can trade this strategy in my sleep. Brian, how do we PM on the new site? Maybe I'm dense, but don't see how to. Or are you checking PMs on old site? Want to talk to you about something. All right. I'm not very good at this. Yeah, I think probably, Zach, the best thing for you to do right now is you see this button right at the bottom. You see where it says full chat? So you click on that, and it basically loads up the Rocket Chat in sort of its own window. And then you can just, so you can see Amory's been PMing me all day long here. And you should be able to find me over here. Jonas says, click on the member list to the right and send a message to the user. So right is over here to here. I'm not quite sure where it is. I suppose there's a search button. Oh, look at that. I guess with all these little heads here. You see that? There's member list. And then you can just go Dickhead Brian. Oh, phew. Okay, good. At least people aren't calling me Dickhead Brian. And there's Brian. Yay. Make sense? All right. So now I will be blitzed by Zach. And also to Frank, you know, if you watch this video later on, I know you're super busy, but I also need for you to PM me over here as well. Okay, I think I'll leave the blabbing for that for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the offering. Try to play from a position of strength. Don't take any wooden nickels, as the old saying goes. We'll have a brand new daily brief with Thomas and Alex and myself first thing tomorrow morning. And just sort of remember, Brian's just slowly getting back into the groove here. So, I'll be a little bit more active with trade ideas here as the fall progresses. Okay, guys, why don't we leave it at that? You have yourselves a great rest of your day. And the only thing left to say is bye for now.